Welcome back to the deep dive. So today, we're opening up a file that, at first glance looks like a standard travel brochure. The type snow-capped peaks, expensive watches, all that. We're heading to Switzerland. But the stack of research we have today tells a much more complicated story. We're looking at Interlaken.
And I think the name itself is the perfect place to start.
Right, Interlaken.
Exactly. It's not just some creator label. It's a literal geographical definition, Latin for between lakes.
And that is the defining constraint of this entire town, isn't it? We're not just talking about a village near some water.
Not at all.
We are talking about a settlement built on this surprisingly narrow strip of land, the Bodeli, I think it's called, that separates two massive lakes, Brins and Thun.
It's a fascinating setup. I mean, if you look at the deep history, those two were probably one single giant lake after the last ice age.
Really? One lake?
Yeah. But over thousands of years, the rivers brought down so much sediment from the mountains that it built up this land bridge. It basically cut the lake in half. So Interlaken exists on this geological accident.
An accident with some very intimidating neighbors looking down on it. The big three.
The Eiger, the Munch, and the Jungfrau. You have the flat plan of the town, water on both sides, and then this vertical wall of rock just shooting up to the south.
It creates this sort of pressure cooker effect. And that pressure seems to have given the town a split personality.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, going through the briefing materials, the guides from Switzerlanding, the tourism data, it feels like Interlaken can't decide what it wants to be. Is it this polite Victorian-era resort?
Right, for the fresh air cure.
Or is it what the modern brochures claim, the adrenaline capital of Europe?
And that's the central tension, isn't it? How do you reconcile a town famous for quiet promenades with a reputation for, throwing yourself off cliffs?
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the layout, because the geography really dictates the whole experience. We mentioned the Bodeli, and running right down the middle is the Hoeiweg. Now, to me, this just looks like a main street connecting the two train stations.
It functions that way, but it's really more of a viewing gallery. The reason it feels so open is that huge field in the center, the Homat.
Right.
Well, hotel owners bought that field way back in the 19th century, specifically to stop anyone from building on it.
Wait, they bought prime real estate just to keep it empty?
They bought it to protect the view of the Jungfrau. They realized very early on that the view was the product.
That makes so much sense. But if you really want to get that between lakes concept, standing in a field doesn't quite cut it. You need to go up.
You do. And the data points to Harderkulm as the mandatory first stop. It's often called Interlaken's local mountain.
And getting there is a funicular, which, looking at the pictures, seems steep.
It's incredibly steep. It hits a 64% gradient in some sections. You're climbing over 750 meters in about 10 minutes. And at the top, they've built this structure called the Two Lakes Bridge.
Which has a glass floor. Of course it does. Why do they always have to put a glass floor over a 1,000-meter drop?
It's all about that visceral thrill. But if you can look past your own feet, this is where that geology lesson really comes alive. You can actually see the difference in the water.
The sources say the colors are different. Why is that? I mean, aren't they fed by the same mountains?
They are, but Lake Brens on the east gets the glacial water first. It has all this fine sediment, which gives it that surreal, milky turquoise color.
Okay.
By the time the water filters through to Lake Thun on the other side, it's settled out. So Thun is this deep, clear, dark blue. You can literally see that filtration process from the bridge.
That's wild. So you've got the science lesson below you and the big three right in front of you. But looking at the peaks is one thing. You can actually go inside them. We have to talk about Jungfrau,
the top of Europe.
The highest railway station on the continent. But I want to pause here. We throw around marvel of engineering a lot. This seems borderline impossible for when they built it. They started in 1896.
It was an act of absolute hubris. The guy behind it, Adolf Geyer-Zeller, he sketched the route on a napkin while hiking. He just decided they would blast a tunnel through the Eiger and the Munch.
And not with modern machines.
No. This was pickaxes, dynamite, and mostly Italian labor. It took 16 years. People died building it. They literally had to carve windows into the north face of the Eiger just to dump out the rock.
Just incredible. And the train itself has to be a cogwheel, right?
It is. A normal train would just slide right back down. It uses a rack and pinion system that locks into a toothed rail. That's what lets it climb a 25% gradient.
And when you get up there, they've kind of turned the glacier into a theme park. There's an ice palace.
It's a bit surreal, yeah. They've carved tunnels directly into the Aleks Glacier. You're walking inside a living, moving river of ice. They actually have to recut the tunnels all the time because the glacier deforms them.
So you're inside a moving river of ice at over 3,000 meters.
Okay.
That brings us to that second personality of Interlaken. Let's talk about the adrenaline.
Right.
Because apparently the sky above the town is pretty crowded.
It's one of the busiest paragliding hubs in the world. And that's all because of the geography.
Yep.
The steep cliffs next to the flat, warm valley floor.
It's a pressure cooker.
Exactly. It creates these perfect thermal updrafts. So they launch from up on Beatenberg, and then that protected field we talked about, the Huma.
The one the hotels bought, don't tell me.
That's the landing strip?
You're kidding. So you're sitting there eating a pastry and someone just drops out of the sky onto the lawn next to you?
Pretty much. It creates a very different energy in the town.
I'll bet. But paragliding, I get.
Yeah.
It's the winter sports that confuse me in the research. Specifically, kayaking.
Ah, yes. Winter kayaking on Lake Brenz.
When I read that, I thought it was a typo. Why would anyone want to be on a glacial lake in January?
Well, the lake is actually calmer in the winter. The boat traffic is gone. The water is like glass. The issue, of course, is the temperature.
Yeah, falling in seems like a bad idea.
A very bad idea, unless you have the right gear. And that's the key. They use these high-grade dry suits.
So not a wetsuit.
No, completely different. A dry suit seals you off. You wear your warm clothes underneath. You could fall in and stay perfectly dry and warm.
Okay, so you're basically a human cork floating on the lake. I guess I can see the appeal, but then I found the hot tug.
A hot tug, of course.
This just feels excessive. It's a boat that is also a hot tub.
Powered by a little electric motor, and the water is heated by a wood-burning stove on board.
It's the ultimate contrast, isn't it? You're sitting in 38-degree water while the air around you is freezing. Your hair probably freezes solid.
It's a gimmick, for sure, but it speaks to a desire to experience the environment without, submitting to it. You get the epic views, but you strip away all the discomfort.
I suppose that's modern luxury. And speaking of backdrops, we can't skip the pop culture one, the Schilthorn.
Piz Gloria. Absolutely essential for Bond fans.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah. The production company actually paid to finish the revolving restaurant atop in exchange for filming rights. It was Blofeld's lair.
So Bond literally saved the mountain's economy.
In a way, yeah. It saved the cable car company from bankruptcy.
Okay, so we have blockbusters, adrenaline, engineering, but let's pivot to the hidden gems, the stuff that isn't on the front page.
This is where it gets really interesting because a lot of people just pass through Interlaken. But if you stop and look, there are some incredible spots.
The first one that caught my eye was the St. Beatus Caves, not just for the geology, but
Yeah.
the legend involves a dragon.
It does. The story goes that in the 6th century, a monk named Beatus came to the area and found the caves were occupied by a fire-breathing dragon.
As they so often are.
Right, but Beatus, being a man of faith, just confronted the dragon with his cross, and it got scared, fled, and supposedly fell into Lake Thun and drowned.
So the monk gentrified the cave.
You could say that, but it shows you this ancient layer of history. And walking in those caves today, the roar of the underground waterfalls is just immense.
Which leads us to Trimbleback Falls. This was the most confusing description. 10 glacial waterfalls inside a mountain